Hey there, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm doing super. Thanks for asking.
I can't quite place your accent. Where are you from?
I'm from Texas, but I'm down here in North Carolina, Hillsborough, North Carolina, as a matter of fact, at Yonder Bar, where we're going to be hosting tonight the virtual edition of the Noir to Bar. And we're really, really grateful that everybody will be tuning in and listening to this. We've got some great readers lined up tonight. And wish we were here in a bar full of people like we've had before at some of the previous things.
Eryk, I thought you had a capacity of 49 people. Is that right?
No, that's new math. That's new math. So the capacity currently is zero. So yeah, can't party because we're looking to be safe during the middle of this pandemic, but we can still party online. We're really, really grateful that y'all are here.
That's right.
This is my 6 feet. This is, sorry, you just said I can't touch. This is Tracy Reynolds, and she will be the hostess with the mostest this evening. So now let me turn it over to Tracy.
Nice. Thank you. Eryk Pruitt, thank you for having us. Leanna, thank you for being here. And just to let you know, even though you can't come and sit and drink in here with us, you can still come by and order drinks because there are tons of drinks that they have. I am drinking this Buzz Balls. This is horchata flavor, and it is delicious. I find I'm funnier when I'm drunk. So this is Noir at the Bar. How many have we done, Eryk?
So many. Oh shit. I got it.
Eric's got something in his pocket. It talks.
We've done several. Now we've done probably 6 of them here in the bar, which is those have always had pretty good turnouts. So you're actually funny. So
over 49 people.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We definitely break the law there.
But thank you all for tuning in at home and watching this. We have an amazing lineup for you tonight. Our first author that we have tonight is, her name is Christa Faust. And not only is she beautiful, she is amazingly talented. So we are gonna bring her on and we're gonna chat with her a little bit. We normally have some bios that we read, but we realize that you guys don't listen anyway. Like, even though they're pretty good and they're funny, still don't read. I want to remind our watchers at home that we normally have a fuck prize. Now, it's not what it sounds like. You don't win a prize for fucking. Although I hear those are available
sometimes
somewhere.
The prize is fucking.
Anyway, so the author that has the most fucks wins a prize. We don't have an actual real trophy, but you have bragging rights. So far, one of our authors, Sean, has won almost every single fuck contest. Eryk Pruitt has come in second. So that being said, let's bring Christa in to join us. Christa, how are you?
Hello. It's awful smoky here in Los Angeles. I'm definitely feeling that kind of sexy noir, Elizabeth Scott kind of voice going on tonight.
Oh, so that brings a whole new meaning to smoky eyes. You've got this smoky everything out there.
Yes.
Seriously, are you safe?
We're safe. We're just brown and hazy.
Air quality control is nothing. So, Christa, when I Googled you, yes, I Googled Christa Faust. Something came up with Supernatural. Did you write for an episode of Supernatural?
I wrote a Supernatural tie-in novel, which basically the difference between a novelization and a tie-in is that a novelization is a prose version of a script, whereas a tie-in novel is further adventures of franchise characters such as the brothers from Supernatural.
Yeah, those are 2 of my favorite brothers of all time. And one of my favorite quotes that you wrote is, "Give me one of those bottles of water. My mouth tastes like demon ass."
That'll happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna put that in my back pocket and use it.
I myself am a fan of the Bad Mother comics. Number 2 just came out, written by Miss Faust. I've got a subscription in my comic book store. If anybody hollers at any of their comic book stores, they will be happy to keep it in stock for you. So be sure to get on the Bad Mother train.
That's nice artwork too. That actually looks like you on the cover. Is it you?
Oh, no, it is not. No children for me, thanks. I'm driving.
Oh, yeah. They suck. All right. So just a couple of questions. What is your favorite project that you've worked on?
It's hard to pick favorites. I mean, I've done a lot, but I think that the project that is the closest to my heart, that's the most semi-autobiographical, is my graphic novel Peatland, which is co-authored with Gary Phillips. It's based on my life and experience growing up in Hell's Kitchen in New York City and working in the peat booths in Times Square in the late 80s.
Oh, wow. You've had quite a life. So that brings me, so that was, okay, peat booths, you worked there. Was that your worst job ever, or do you have another?
That's a fantastic job. Are you kidding? I love that.
Okay, so what's your worst job that you've ever had?
Oh God, worst job I ever had. I don't do bad jobs. If I don't like something, I don't do it. I've worked in the peat booths. I've been a professional dominatrix for 20 plus years, and I'm a writer. What's not to like?
Okay, you and I need to meet up offline so that I can get some pointers from you.
You bet.
Okay, and I mean, this isn't related to your dominatrix work, but what is your easiest $100 you've ever made?
Easiest? Well, I mean, I'm a fan of face slapping.
Oh.
I would do that for free. But I think the easiest money that I've ever made, more than 100, is Phenom, where you just have somebody open their wallet and you just take their money. I had a client, I would berate him about the size of his endowment and say, you're not good for anything but money, and take money out of his wallet and leave.
She's my hero.
Mine too.
You are my hero. All right. So what are you going to read for us? Thank you for talking with us.
No problem. I am going to read the opener of the third Angel Dare book. Yes, I'm working on a third Angel Dare book. No, you can't read it yet.
Oh.
When can you read it?
Yes.
When I'm there, I'm good. I'm ready.
Let's go.
All right. So you can begin. And I would like to remind everybody, minutes, no pressure. I won't, you're not in person, so I can't unfortunately slap you.
Oh, no, honey. I slap you.
Oh, okay. You go over it. Okay. I would gladly take it.
No problem. All right, let's do this. All right, you kids ready for this? This novel is called The Get Off. No context. They called me a femme fatale in the media back when that Jesse Black fiasco went down. Not that most people have any idea what it really means. Most people think it just means badass with tits. That's not it at all. A real femme fatale is a villain, and I always thought of myself as a hero. At least I tried to be. In the end, it turned out they were right. I found out I was pregnant on my way to kill Bukhason. I'd been stalking him, online and in real life. I followed him everywhere, obsessively studying his daily habits, letting him think he was hunting me when I was really hunting him. I started fucking his urologist about 6 weeks ago. Dr. Albert Balian was a sweet guy, but utterly clueless when it came to women. Middle-aged, unattractive, unhappily married. An easy mark. It was no sweat to convince him how hot it would be for me to dress up like one of his nurses and blow him under the desk in his cluttered office during business hours. At first, he'd been resistant to the idea of me wearing the boring unisex scrubs his real nurses wear, and wanted me in some kind of skimpy stripper fantasy getup made out of red and white vinyl. I wore him down. I claimed it would be so much sexier for me if I could imagine he was my real boss, and that I might lose my job if I didn't do what he wanted. I'd done it just enough times for the rest of his staff to get used to seeing me wearing scrubs around the office, but not enough for him to be bored with the whole idea. When I stepped onto the elevator that day, I was locked and loaded, pulse racing as I fought to slow my breathing and stay cool. I had a capped syringe stuck into the pocket of my borrowed scrubs, filled with enough potassium chloride to stop an elephant's heart. I was sweating under my expensive blonde wig. The tunnel vision of my aching hatred made me feel righteous and invincible. Nothing else mattered. It was 2:25 p.m. as I stood alone in the elevator, waiting for the doors to close. Vukasin's appointment was for 2:30, so I still had time to get in through the back door and meet him in the one place his security goons didn't follow. He didn't want any of his men to see that hunk of badly reconstructed meat that dangled between his legs. That's my fault, by the way. I didn't technically do it, but I was the catalyst that made it happen. If you just walked in the middle of this shitty movie that my life has become, all you need to know is that he did shit to me and to people that I love that I can't forgive. Not fucking ever. Hence, the mutual vendetta. The doors on the elevator had started to slide closed when they suddenly bounced back open to admit a hugely pregnant woman with a baby strapped to one of those carrier harnesses that make you look like you have a stunted and partially absorbed Siamese twin. The woman was flushed and cheerful with the same fluffy strawberry blonde hair as her equally pink-faced baby. She was dressed in roomy, colorful sweats and had a fancy designer diaper bag slung over one shoulder. The baby was wailing and hiccuping in ascending scales like a soprano warming up for a difficult aria. "Whew," the woman said, panting and leaning heavily into the left side of the elevator. She pressed the same glowing button that I had obviously already pressed. "I can't move so quick anymore." I didn't answer, just stared straight ahead at the closed doors. "Is this your first?" she asked, lightly bouncing her fussing infant. I turned to her with a baffled frown. "This is my fourth," she said without waiting for my answer. The baby was starting to gasp and spit like it might blow a head gasket. A little boy, finally, after 3 girls. I promise it gets so much easier after the first one. When are you due? The baby's high-pitched wailing was fraying my last nerve and making my fists curl and itch. But that woman's sweaty pink face was so mild and sweet, completely oblivious to the battle currently raging inside me. I was about to say something cruel to shut her the fuck up, but didn't. I adjusted my itchy wig instead, forcing a smile that I hoped didn't seem too condescending, and shaking my head. "I'm not pregnant," I said, raising my voice to be heard over the crying baby and smoothing my scrubs over my admittedly not as flat as I might have liked belly. "I'm just fat." She laughed and shook her head, like we were sharing some wonderful private joke. Her baby was still crying, but starting to wind down as she continued with the bouncing and cooing. "I know, right?" she said. "When my sister-in-law was pregnant with my nephew, she looked just like an ad for prenatal yoga, all slim and gorgeous with this perfect round tummy. Me, I always look like I escaped from SeaWorld." She rooted around for a second in the outer pocket of the diaper bag, and I figured she was looking for a pacifier or toy to help shut the baby up. Instead, she took out a small packet of tissues and held them out to me. "They make pads," she said. "You should get some, at least while you're still working." They make pads. That sentence was so far outside anything I expected from the conversation that for a moment I thought I must have misheard her. "Pads?" I repeated, frown deepening. Again, that light, happy laugh like there was nothing wrong with the world, like I wasn't about to go kill the man who had killed or helped kill pretty much everyone I ever cared about. "Ah, pads," she said, pressing the packet of tissues into my hand. "But for now, just use these. Hopefully one of your coworkers will have a spare top they can lend you." I looked down at my navy blue scrub top. There were 2 dark, damp blotches on the front, one over each nipple. I couldn't have been more horrified if I just realized I was covered in blood. Then that's it.
Woo-hoo. Mm.
Man, it's really, really great to catch up with Angel Dare again. That's awesome, man. Thank you very much.
They
My
make
pleasure.
pads.
They make pads, you know.
Well, thank you for joining us. I know it's early out there. What, a little after 4?
A little after 4:15.
Exactly.
Good math.
You're still. I'm good. You're still good to drink.
It's happy hour.
Exactly. Well, good luck with everything, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, kids. My pleasure.
Thank you,
Bye.
Christa.
So good to see you. Hey, Eryk.
Yes, ma'am.
You look so cute. What are you wearing?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Tracy. I am wearing a Yonder Bar t-shirt. They are available right now on Amazon. I know, Amazon, but that's where they're available. We get $5 per shirt. So since we can't sell you booze, maybe we can sell you a shirt. As I said, this one's really pretty. We also have special edition shirts and limited editions just for the Noir to Bar. They are designed by the excellent artist, former Rolling Stone photographer, Mike Benson. So jump on one of these Mike Benson shirts. We have several hoodies, long sleeve shirts.
Oh, Eryk.
Oh, we got you, didn't we?
That was
Didn't we?
funny.
Um,
God.
Woo, live TV. So anyway, moving on. Our next guest is Russell Johnson. Russell, let's go ahead and pull Russell up on in.
Yeah, you guys, I think that you are going to be very excited to see our next guest. I think many of you will recognize him as your favorite professor growing up from Gilligan's Island. So let's bring in Russell Johnson. All right. Hey, Russell.
Hello.
So which was your favorite? I know a lot of people have said Ginger was kind of a bitch. So what about Marianne? Did you like her?
You know, I probably would have been a Marianne person. I should mention that growing up, my pediatrician was actually first cousins with the Russell Johnson who played the professor.
Really?
Yeah,
you look a little bit younger. Eryk a lot of times gets his facts wrong. So
Maybe just a little. And one fact I didn't get wrong is that Russell, I know that you've got one book out in submission right now. Your agent's getting it around to different editors and publishing companies called The Mayberry Messiah. A lot of people may have seen that one, but I am in the unique position of getting to see your second novel as you're working through it, The Shroud. If you're listening, that's amazing. You guys are going to want to snatch this fella up. What you want to tell folks what you're working on?
I just sent off to my agent a book. It was called The Mayberry Messiah. It's been retitled Ruckus because we're taking another shot at it. But it's about a female sheriff in the coal fields of West Virginia whose family runs kind of the local hillbilly crime syndicate. So just finished that one up.
Take my money.
awesome. So Eryk, what you're telling me is he did not play the professor on Gilligan's Island?
No, I told you he didn't.
Okay. So it's another Russell Johnson.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Russell, I'm so sorry.
Moving on.
Eryk likes to make me look stupid.
Moving on.
Yeah.
What you reading for us, bro?
I am reading a story called Frequent Flyers, which was published in Deep South Magazine a couple years ago. And it's a story that's really kind of personal to me. I have a son who's born with a lot of health problems. He's had brain surgery, heart surgery, pretty much you name it surgery. And in the course of that, I learned that doctors call the families like us who were always at the hospital frequent flyers. And so one night when I was sitting up in the hospital, kind of angry at the world, I wrote this story. And so that's what I'm going to read for you tonight.
Great. Thank you so much, Russell.
Thank you.
All right. If there is a hell, I bet it smells an awful lot like St. Cyriacus Hospital. with its industrial-grade hand soap and grimy floors, combined with the funk of human exhaustion. It's an odor concoction that clings to your clothes and never lets go. Something I've learned from far too many nights, curled up on their back-breaking guest beds, nervously watching the rise and fall of my son's chest. This is Wesley's 17th surgery. He's 4. Every few months, we go through the same routine. Me carrying him through the hospital, kicking and screaming, having to bear hug him to keep him still until the calming medicines take hold, and then having to let go. Turn him over to a team of strangers in their funny hats and OR scrubs. Then after that, the worst part begins. Back here in the waiting room, desperately doing anything to keep my mind off of things. Books, magazines, iPad, emails, and holding my breath whenever the door opens, looking to see if it's Wesley's doctor. Here comes one now, face still masked like a bandit, but I can instantly tell it's not my guy. Way too much gray hair. Wesley's surgeon is much younger, probably younger than me. Actually has kids at the same daycare Wesley goes to, where I occasionally run into him at pickup time. A young mother from the back of the room rushes forward, hugging this more senior doctor, wiping away tears of joy when she gets good news. And I really do want to feel happy for her. But I can't help but think that her success just worsened Wesley's odds. Because there are going to be bad outcomes. Complications, infections, accidents, stone-cold fuck-ups. It's a statistical certainty. This hospital is pretty good, but if you keep going under the knife time and time again, sooner or later, those odds have got to catch up to you. I mean, just the anesthesia alone. Stop it, I say aloud. It'll be just like every time before. I followed all the old routines. Same pre-surgery meal, same hospital stink-stained t-shirt, got my lucky Dodgers cap turned backwards. But I know it's not all the same. There's one glaring, snarling, sweaty, 6'2", 240-pound difference staring me in the face. My Uncle Jimmy. He's here in place of my wife, who's back home in a medication-induced slumber, sitting this one out. Jimmy's a gruff man who looks comical, trying to calm a blonde-haired little girl in the midst of a tantrum. He's doing his best to keep her from bothering me, but eventually gives up and hands her over. She wants her dad, Jimmy says, shrugging his shoulders. I bounce the little girl on my knee for a minute, and then gracefully redirect her to coloring books and some princess dolls. Once she's content, I give Jimmy a look like, was that so hard? And then return to my ruminating and toe tapping. Jimmy knows I'm getting antsy and tries to distract me with old war stories from back when he was a sniper in Vietnam. Next thing I know, he's running down each of his 23 confirmed kills, giving me the chapter and verse on distance, wind speed, visibility. When he graphically describes the way a man's head can explode like a melon, the other families gawk like he has antlers growing out of his forehead, but Jimmy doesn't even notice. He runs his gnarled hands through his Grecian formula hair, fluffing the feathers of his duck-ass hairdo, and stares at the little girl sitting at my feet. She's all pigtails and smiles now, a perfect angel. But looking at her, I get the feeling that I'm the sickest person in this hospital. Because I can't feel a thing for her. Not a thing. Not the slightest tinge of emotion, compassion, concern. I take her delicate little porcelain doll hand in mine, and still nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, God knows what kind of germs that floor is crawling with, but I just let her piddle around down there. I don't even flinch when I catch her picking at a petrified wad of gum before sticking her fingers in her mouth. I am totally numb. I've got no parental instinct toward her whatsoever. And it's been that way all day. I can't even bring myself to say her name. It's like there's some kind of protective shell surrounding it in my mind. Today, she's just little girl. Wesley is all that matters. Little girl, if she can have another candy bar. That'll be her third since this morning, but whatever. I reach into my bag and hand it over. This is taking too long, I say, as I check my watch for the 500th time. And we should have heard by now. I pace up and down the hall looking for signs of Wesley's doctor. Nothing. I go back. Little girl's in my seat, so I scoop her up like a rag doll and plop her down in my lap as I sit back down. Jimmy's enthusiastically describing kill 23, but all I can think about now is how young the surgeon is. I mean, why doesn't he have any gray hair? I really do think he's younger than I am. God, that's what's killing me, I say. What's that? Jimmy asks. Just the randomness of it all, man. I mean, did you know that less than 1 in 500,000 kids are born with Wesley's condition? Those are long odds. Yeah. And once you hit those, it's like being one of those people get struck by lightning multiple times or keep winning the lottery. Like having one extreme thing happen to you opens you up to a lifetime of extreme things. Extreme becomes common, Jimmy says. Yeah, I say, catching myself about to tear up. I sniff and pinch the bridge of my nose so hard I could just about rip it off. I mean, think about how easy it would be for that baby surgeon there to just have a bad day. Nah, Jimmy says, he'll do fine. Everybody has bad days, I argue. Everybody. And all it would take for the unthinkable to happen is one little slip of the surgeon's hand, and it'd all be over. Everything we've been through could all be for nothing. The doc just rolled into work this morning, a little sleep-deprived or hungover or pissed off about a fight he had with his wife. I pause, trying to think of a way to articulate the helplessness I feel, that desperate falling feeling that shakes me awake at night. It's like flying, I say. You're crammed into one of those steel tubes, trying not to think about the 30,000 feet separating you from the ground. Now you're totally at the mercy of the pilot. He makes a mistake or falls asleep or has a heart attack. There's nothing you can do about it. Everybody in that plane is going down. You have no control at all over the situation. Try not to worry, Jimmy says, squeezing my shoulder. The doc will be on his A game today, I promise. And just like that, there he is, the doc at the door. His mask is gone and he's not smiling. My heart drops. I swallow hard. The doc makes a beeline for us. I clamber to my feet and charge at him like a pissed off rhino, like I might tackle him. He raises a hand to stop me. Everything went well, he says. Little girl starts fussing, so I ask Jimmy to take her down the hall and give the doc and me some space to talk. I want to see him now, I say. The doctor hems and haws about hospital policy, but I give him a look that wheels him around. He leads me to the recovery room where Wesley is hooked up to what seems like 1,000 tubes and wires. The nurse is taking his blood pressure amidst the beeps of all the different monitors. Wesley opens his eyes a couple of times and manages a crooked little smile before falling back asleep. Satisfied, the doctor asked. I start to comment on his bedside manner, or lack thereof, but decide not to. I shrug. Without another word, the doctor does a 180 and scurries off. I go to kiss Wesley's forehead, and the nurse clears a path for me, like she might catch cooties if I brushed against her. I give her a bit of the stink eye as I stroke Wesley's hair, and then fish around my pocket for my cell phone. When I find it, I speed dial Jimmy. Wesley's okay, I say. Yeah, the doc's on his way out now. You're right, Uncle Jimmy. He was on his A game. You can let his little girl go. That's it.
Coming right back.
Hey there.
I know. I'm sorry. That was so scary for everybody. I'm sorry. Hey, Russell, thank you so much. I've heard you read once or twice before here, like actually at the bar, and every time it's a treat. So thank you for joining us and just like being so vulnerable and raw. I think your writing is just, you know, you really have a way of making the person feel like they're actually there. So thank you so much and good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks a bunch, Russell.
Yes. All right. So our next author is the most energetic little 4'9" bundle of joy that you will ever meet in North Carolina. It is Katy Munger, and she's incredible. And no one writes strippers like you do. I just think that, you know, you really capture. What kind of research did you do to really get in the heads of all of these strippers?
Oh, I refuse to answer on the grounds that
You have to be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't writing the poll myself.
So, Katy, you've written a million different books, and it seems like you've also written under different names. How many different names have you written under?
3. Chaz McGee, Gallagher Gray, and Katy Munger.
And how did that come about? Were you fleeing the law in different states, or?
I'm a little schizophrenic in my writing, just as the first 2 stories tonight were very different. My books and my series are very different from each other. So as not to, have my fans faint when they went from a cozy to one that was much more hard-boiled. I just used different names to warn people.
Not to warn people. Nice. And how are you doing during all of this?
I hate it. I would be at Yonder bar right now drinking and hanging out with people. I hate being home alone. I go out 5 nights a week. So
I know.
It's killing me.
It's hard. Well, you're the life of the party. You know everybody. You run around. It is hard. It's sequestered at home, and we're trying to do this, and it's great seeing people's faces, but not like actual face to face. Hey, Eryk.
What's up, Tracy?
Aww.
What you reading for us tonight, Katie?
I am going to read an original Casey Jones, but first I do want to say one thing, which is that Yonder is the bar that I love to call home. And so if you are in the mind to tip the bartender tonight, you can do that via Venmo and just use @Yonder Bar, and you can leave the bartender a big fat tip. I'm going to. Thanks.
Thank you,
Katie. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm going to read an original Casey Jones. If you haven't read my books before, this is my second series. It's called Boogaloo Boogie, and it is an original short story. It is neither as moving as Russell's nor as perverted as Christa's. It's kind of in the middle. Boogaloo Boogie. A scrawny little white boy stood in the doorway with one finger planted firmly up his nose. I pushed past him. Inside my office, an overweight woman wearing a Rascal Flatts t-shirt sat in front of my desk, scrolling through her phone, while two more children ransacked at will. A toddler in droopy diapers lurched back and forth, dripping a trail of urine behind him. A girl who was maybe 5 years old was snooping through my drawers and had arranged all of my spare tampons in a neat row on the desktop. Picking the girl up by the waist as she squawked and kicked furiously, I set her down in front of her mother. "Contain your children," I said calmly. The woman hooked a finger in the toddler's diaper and yanked him toward her, then screamed at the girl, "Kaylee, sit down right now or I'm going to skin your butt and take you back to Henderson." The girl suddenly plopped down in the chair and began banging her ankles against its legs. I stared at her until she stopped. "Can I help you?" I asked as I put my desk back together. "I hope so," the lady said. "My asshole of an ex owes me $30,000 in child support, and I need you to find him." I considered the request. "Even if I find him, he probably won't have the money to pay you. I've been down this road before." "I know." The woman pulled a stack of court papers out of a dollar store tote bag and spread them across my desk. "His parents own land and left him a bundle, but it's not in his name, so I can't get at it. I've tried." "What is it you want me to do?" I asked. "Steal his truck. My cousin saw him driving a $60,000 truck with all the extras last week in Roxborough. You get it, and I can sell it." "So he lives in Roxborough?" I asked. "I don't know. How am I supposed to find him?" "You tell me. You're the detective. Perhaps you could give me a hint," I suggested. She shrugged. "He's been hiding for 3 years now. Left us when I got pregnant with Dewey Jr. It's probably Person County, maybe Alamance. That's still a lot of acreage." She took a Tupperware container out of her bag and laid it on my desk. It was filled with $1 bills. She wasn't riding the pole with that body, so I figured she was a waitress. I wondered how many weeks' worth of tips that container held. Then I looked at how skinny her kids were. I didn't feel good about taking it. I pushed it back toward her. "Unless I have something to go on, I'm just wasting your money." "He's one of them boogaloo boys. Does that help?" I sat up straighter. "It might. He hangs out with other no-good dipshits who carry guns and act like they're bigger men than they are." "Dipshits," Diaper Boy repeated proudly. "And they say kids need kindergarten to develop verbal skills. Him and his friends show up at protests and wave their guns around. That's all he's got to wave around, by the way." I had guessed that already. "What am I supposed to do with the truck if I get it?" I asked. "Just bring it to me," she said. "I got some people lined up." I didn't ask for details. This was country justice, and I was a fan. Besides, the courts hadn't helped her. I knew I was probably her last option. I handed her the Tupperware container back. "Keep your money for now. I'll look into it, and if I can find them, I'll let you know. In the meantime, why don't you use some of that to take your kids to McDonald's or something?" It was as if I had thrown steak into a pen full of starving hounds. "Happy Meal," the little girl yelled. Her brother picked up the battle cry as they chanted, "Happy Meal, Happy Meal." The littlest one tried to keep up, but it sounded for all the world like he was saying, "Help me, help me." Oh, Lord, if I hadn't already agreed to help, that would have done me in for sure. I hadn't a clue as to how I was going to find Dewey Skaggs. Then, as I was wasting another chunk of my life on Facebook, a news item caught my eye. Its photo showed a bunch of barrel-bellied, angry-looking white men with rifles slung over their shoulders surrounding a monument at Gettysburg. Apparently, they'd showed up to protect it from a socialist mob, only to find no one else there. And that's when inspiration hit. I knew just how I could find Dewey Skaggs, but I'd need help to pull it off. You owe me, I told my friend Marcus as we sat in his marble kitchen. Besides, you're the one with all the fake accounts. I can't do it without you. I knew that last part would get him. Marcus loves nothing better than being needed. He sighed. Tell me what you want me to do. I told him. He sounded skeptical. You're sure that's going to work? No. Will 4 days be enough lead time? Enough lead time for what? Marcus and I froze. His boyfriend, Martin, stood in the doorway holding a bag of groceries crammed with organic produce from Whole Foods. Their bodies were their temples, whereas I tended to worship at the Church of the Burger King. When Marcus told him the plan, Martin's reaction was instant. It's too dangerous, he said. There's no other way, Marcus agreed, taking my side, but only because fighting was like foreplay for those two. Martin knew Marcus well. Then I can't let you do it alone, he told Marcus. I'm coming with you. No offense, but you don't look the part, I said. Depends on the part I play, Martin pointed out. That was true. Unlike Marcus, Martin was as pale as you can get. Plus, he had white blonde hair and narrow blue eyes. And with Martin along, well, Marcus would be safer. Let's do it, I decided. Four Corners was little more than an intersection off of I-85 on a road that winds into a world of dairy farms, tobacco fields, and ranch houses with a minimum of 6 vehicles parked in each driveway. It didn't even have a downtown. But what it did have was a town square that took up one of the Four Corners quadrants. Right across the street was a gas station convenience store that did a brisk business selling lottery tickets to people whose dream it was to get out of Four Corners as fast as they could. The town square served no purpose these days, but right smack dab in the middle of that sorry patch of grass was the statue of a man on a horse. The horse was rearing up as its rider remained tall in the saddle, a wide-brimmed hat pushed back on his head as he grinned out at the world. If you assumed this was a Confederate statue, then you would be wrong. It was a monument to Hobart Dixon, who'd made a career playing second fiddle to Hollywood Westerns and was the only person to ever come out of Four Corners who had a shot at being mentioned on the internet. Somehow, the town had scraped the money together way back in the 50s to put this statue up to their only distinguished municipal son. If you looked closely, you'd notice a southwestern cast of the hat and cowboy tooling etched into the bronze boots. But no one was going to look that close. They'd be too busy looping a rope around old Hobart's neck. I parked my car behind the convenience store. I'd retrieve it when I could. Grabbing a cold grape knee-high, I took a seat on a concrete block beside the dumpster and waited. Marcus had said his social media posts were shared dozens of times. All I could do was have faith. Around about 11 a.m., the first pickup trucks arrived, disgorging beefy white men armed to the gills. A few minutes later, the other side showed up when carloads of kids drove past and parked their hybrid vehicles inside a nearby neighborhood of old mill houses. They flirted with each other, comparing protest signs while waiting for someone with a bullhorn to arrive and tell them what to do. I didn't know why I was worried about recognizing Dewey Skaggs. There was no way anyone could miss his truck. Soon, what can only be described as a good old boy wet dream on wheels came roaring down the road, turned into the convenience store, and lurched to a halt. The driver revved the engine before he cut it just to make it plain to everyone that a man with a jumbo-sized Johnson had just arrived. Dewey Skaggs had taken the bait. He was a bald-headed man with the physique of a grizzly bear. He stepped out of the truck and patted his belly, probably coming out of hibernation after a meth-fueled Friday night washed down by a couple cases of low-rent beer. Jesus, I deserved an Oscar if I pulled off what I had to do next. As I unbuttoned my shirt a few notches, a group of good old boys stopped to admire Dewey's truck. There was lots of boot stamping and backslapping and fondling of each other's guns, which I figured was some seriously sublimated sexual predilections at work. If you've got to carry a big-ass gun just to step out your front door, you are a displaced soul indeed. As I waited for this show of brotherhood to subside, the square started to fill up. It was like a middle school dance. On one side, you had a crayon box crowd of crunchy-looking kids, a Benetton ad on the move. On the other side, the all-white Boogaloo boys posed for news cameras, turning this way and that in their Hawaiian shirts like they were at a red carpet event. I thought I spotted Martin, Marcus's boyfriend, among them. In the middle of the lawn, between the two sides, like some sacrificial lamb frozen by fear, stood the statue of Hobart Dixon, a man who had barely made it into IMDb, but who would make history today. Every now and then, a handful of bikers roared past on their Harleys, men without any allegiance who had showed up just to make it plain that they were and always had been more badass than any gun-toting, wet behind the ears, draft-dodging 37 white supremacist could ever be. The men surrounded Dewey Skaggs took off, and I headed toward him. He let out a belch that rumbled like thunder across the parking lot and ended in a series of sharp staccatos. Without apologizing, he gave me a head-to-toe look, no doubt searching for signs of low self-esteem so he could gauge his shot at getting into my too tight jeans. I waited until I was close enough for him to smell the Jack Daniels I had sprinkled behind my ears, then planted my legs wide and swayed tipsily. My old man and me had a fight, I told him. He left me here half an hour ago and took off with some other bitch. I got no way to get home and I need a drink. I had just signaled that I was both desperate and impaired. If that didn't trigger his mating instincts, nothing would. Dewey was a real charmer. What do you want me to do about it? He said. How about a ride home when all this is over? I don't live too far from here and I could make it worth your while. I lifted my chest up a little. I find good posture comes in handy. As he stared at my breasts, I felt a stab of satisfaction. I might be getting old, but the girls still had the power to hypnotize. I might maybe be able to do that, he said, but I got some work to do first. That was when my friend Marcus made his move. He appeared in the distance, striding straight down the road, intersecting the neighborhood of mill houses. He looked like a dark, avenging angel. He also wore a black T-shirt with Antifa printed across it. Seriously? What was next? Arrow signs pointing to him that said black? But Marcus didn't need any signs to stand out. Both the color of his skin and the friends he had brought along made him a perfect target for the Boogaloo Boys. Behind him stood three more fine-looking black men wearing sunglasses. Dark bandanas dangled from their necks should further concealment be necessary. I suddenly wondered if I knew as much about Marcus as I thought I did. Most of the Boogaloo Boys snapped to attention like bird dogs spotting a flock of ducks, but Dewey was too busy ogling my 44s to have noticed. I had to do something quick or he'd miss the sneak boat. Holy shit, I cried. There's them anti-people just standing there in the middle of the road as brazen as can be. Dewey whirled around and started toward the mob. Wait, I called out. You can't leave your truck here. They towed 4 cars this morning already. I can move it for you. Least I can do. He looked unconvinced. They're getting away, I blurted out in desperation. As if on cue, Marcus raised his right hand and shot the Boogaloo Boys the bird. His small army followed suit. Well, that did the trick. Dewey turned toward me, hesitating for a split second before he barked orders at me. He was used to women doing exactly what he said. Meet me straight up the road, 2 blocks and no more. Don't you drive it any more than that, you hear? Can you drive a truck that big? Sure, I said. My daddy had one like it. Not as nice, of course. Dewey tossed me the keys. 2 blocks and no more, he warned again as he ran toward the mob, moving in on Marcus and his pals. Marcus gave them the finger one more time, then he and his posse turned around and headed back into the neighborhood. The reporters and cameramen dashed after them. The young protesters, forgotten by all, watched everyone else leave with disappointed looks. They stood in a circle, staring uncertainly at the statue of Hobart Dixon. They really did mean well, bless their little vegan hearts. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. I jumped into the truck and the engine roared to life as soon as I turned the key. I sped out of the parking lot and turned right. If I cut through the neighborhood, I could get to the highway faster. Directly in front of me, the Boogaloo Boys were on the march. Sheriff cars passed by on both sides, sirens screaming. I followed in their wake. We roared past the crowd, and Dewey Skaggs looked up in alarm, followed by outrage as his beloved truck blew past. Sucker. I had just stolen $60,000 worth of automotive luxury, and all it had taken was a push-up bra. I was looking for Paradise Drive, a misnomer if ever there was one. I saw it up ahead and took a hard right, barely missing a photographer in the road. He hardly noticed me. Then I saw why. Just ahead, Marcus was bopping down the road, Martin at his side. He had escaped the mob, and his part in the hustle was over. I gave a toot of victory as I passed by. Behind me, the photographer was frantically snapping pictures. I saw the highway entrance a quarter mile ahead and gunned it. As I reached I-85 and headed back towards Durham, I thought of the photo that would no doubt run on the front page of the News and Observer in the morning, and I started to laugh. I could see it already. A white boogaloo boy and a black Antifa soldier strolling down the road side by side as they lovingly held hands. Let the world figure that one out. Thank you. Cheers.
Katy, you're awesome. For a second, I thought that you had a smoking cocktail over there in the background, but it's just incense. So,
well, it's supposed to look like a smoky bar so we can all get in the mood.
Well, it was wonderful. You had a lot of comments during your reading. So, and I forgot. So thank you everybody for who's watching at home. Nick Patrick reminded me, he made a comment that you actually wrote about dwarf strippers. And I totally forgot about that. So,
yes. Yeah. And that's based on it's a real thing. There's a whole family of dwarf strippers in Pennsylvania that the women of the family strip for good money.
Yeah.
And when I go through Durham, people line up around the block. It's very inexplicable to me.
That's awesome. I love it. Hey, whatever anybody wants to do, let's say thanks. So
well, we've had you in here several times before to read, and it's you always bring the house down, and that's the one thing that I think that's really missing is usually the thunderous applause that usually follows one of your readings, Kate. So there is a lot of comments talking to you. So I mean, that's what we'll have in the meantime. So,
and I can't believe my Aunt Peggy is in the audience. Mwah.
Yes, you've got a lot of fans. Everybody does. So thank you, everybody watching from home and kind of keeping this alive. We are really loving every comment, all of the support that we're getting, and yeah, we just thank everybody for being here. And Katy, you are a pleasure. So thank you for being here tonight.
Love you guys. See you soon.
Love you too. Miss you. Bye. So who's our next author?
Oh, well, it's a fella some folks might have heard of named Sean Cosby.
Oh, I thought his name was S. Andrew Cosby.
No, it's Sean A. Cosby.
Oh, I call him Sean Andrew Cosby.
Okay, well, let's find.
Yeah. Hey, Mr.
Mr. Cosby, how should we refer to you?
Sean Andrew.
You can just call me sir. That'll work fine.
Mr. Cosby, you have had quite a year. Now you are a regular here. I don't even think I usually, when I'm planning these Noir at the bars, I usually check with your schedule first because you've always been a crowd favorite. So
it's true.
We couldn't do this without you. We really, really appreciate you jumping in. And like I said, you've had quite a year.
Yeah. So how are George, Amal, and the twins? The Pruitts. I'm sorry for those watching at home.
Everybody's doing fine. No, our cat is doing all right. I released a book. Yeah, it's time is a river, and life is swift with swift transitions. But released a book in July. It's doing okay. So other than that, not a lot going on. So
he said it's doing okay, but just for reference, everybody, Stephen King tweeted just the other day that you need to go out and buy it. So that's how your book's doing.
I think he mentioned you too, Eryk Pruitt.
Not Stephen King. No, that's
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was Stephen Jacobs.
Oh, right. Oh, you went to high school with him. Right. Yeah. Sean, thank you so much for being here. And just please, remember the little people, right? We knew you before.
You like the dwarf stripper?
Yes, I am.
I thought you were talking about the dwarf stripper. Yeah, no.
Thank you
the
for
truth of the matter
recognizing that.
is, I love you guys so much. Eryk is one of my best friends. He's the person that first welcomed me into the crime writing community. I love Yonder and Lana and Trace and everybody in Hillsborough and everybody at the bar. As one of my friends, another friend of mine said, it's me and Eryk are the Southern Fried Crockett and Tubbs, and we've had several not safe for work adventures that I cannot talk about now because of statute of limitations. But I suffice to say, none of the stuff that's going on.
And tell us.
Yeah, but I was gonna say none of the stuff that's going on now with the book probably wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for people like Eryk Pruitt taking a chance on me. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, stop.
Yeah,
Stop.
Eryk's pretty amazing.
What you reading today, Sean?
I'm reading a short story, and I mean it's short, Tracy. It's not over 10 minutes. It's a story originally written for Noir at the Bar, so it hasn't been published anywhere. It's a story called Sugar. So I'll just get into it here.
Let's go.
And Sean, the
All
fucks
right.
to beat are 7.
I actually don't have a lot of fucks in this one. This is actually one of my least fuckable stories. So
those two don't count. I'm not counting yet. I'm not counting.
Take it away, Sean.
all right, okay. This is Sugar. My phone vibrated so hard it fell off the nightstand. I rolled over and let my arm slide from around Mara's waist. Cursing, I reached blindly for the phone. When I finally felt the slick, hard plastic rectangle, I realized it wasn't my work phone. That one has a heavy-duty rubber case on the off chance I drop it when I'm climbing in and out of my tow truck. This is my personal phone. This is the one that was currently dancing across the floor. I picked it up and stared at the glowing name on the screen. Sugar. Fuck, I whispered. Mara let out a soft groan and turned over on her belly. I knew she let out a hellacious fart in about 5 seconds. It's funny the things you learn when lust turns to love and you find yourself with the same person for over 10 years. The last 5 spent as husband and wife. I touched the screen. 3:00 in the morning, I said. Hey, brother, I'm glad to see you can still tell time. I'm in a little bit of a situation here, and I was wondering if I could get you to come pull me out the swamp. I ran off the road near West River Bridge, my brother Sugar said. His deep radio DJ voice slithered over the airwaves like a snake coated in honey. I didn't respond, not at first. My brother's given name is Samuel, but my mama called him Sugar Son because she said he was her miracle baby and he was just so damn sweet. Born 8 years after me. 8 years after the doctor told her she couldn't have any more children. Her miracle boy. The sweetest little boy who ever lived, my mama liked to say. And just like overripe fruit, he spoiled just as quick as a hiccup. I was just a regular baby. Nothing special about me. You always in a situation, Sugar, I said finally. Now it was his turn to be quiet. If his rage was a fire, I could have seen the first plumes of smoke. I'm in a bind here, man. And you just happen to have a fucking tow truck. You can't help your brother? Mama always said we're supposed to look out for each other, Sugar said. Our mama did indeed say that. But anybody worth asking would have told you that road only went one way. But he was my brother. Anyway, the sooner I got him out the weeds, the sooner he'd disappear again. I got up, kissed Mara on the forehead, and climbed in my tow truck. Turned out on Route 624 and then headed up to West River Bridge. The river was more like a deep-ass creek, and the bridge was only 20 feet long. Just a little spit of concrete out here on the side of the road, just enough to get you from one side of the creek to the other. It was so narrow, 2 cars couldn't pass on it at the same time. If you see somebody coming, you got to pull over and let them go by, if you're inclined to be nice. My brother Sugar was never inclined to be nice. My mama saw things in Sugar that weren't there, illusions and hallucinations that she embraced instead of seeing him for who he really was. Sugar wasn't the kind of kid to pull the wings off of flies. Oh, no. He was the kind of kid that would collect grasshoppers in a coffee can, then put the can over fire and watch how to hop out. Then he'd crush the ones that escaped. My mama might have seen him as an angel, but our daddy knew he had the devil in him and a hornet's nest where his heart was supposed to be. Mama coddled him. In my mama's eyes, Sugar could do no wrong. Every girl who said he beat her had lied on him, and every boy who he whooped was jealous of him. The funny thing was, the boys probably were jealous of him. As we both grew, he got more and more handsome on the outside, even as he got more and more rancid on the inside. Sugar never picked up a dumbbell in his whole goddamn life, but he had a 6-pack when he was 15. He was the best of my mama's cafe au lait, Indian and black family tree, and my daddy's ebony nightshade, Virginia country DNA. I turned down Stamper Creek Road. Red Hill was a small county that rolled up the sidewalks in town when it got dark. This time of night in this part of the county, the only people I encountered on the road were ghosts. My daddy didn't let Sugar slide 1 inch because of my mama had already given him a mile. As Sugar got bigger and Daddy got older, they seemed to circle around each other like two rabid lions. When I was around 25 and Sugar was 17, he got mad because Mama didn't have enough money to pay for his prom tux, and Daddy wouldn't give her the rest because he had just bailed him out from jail the week before for trying to burn down Lester's shed. Why had Sugar tried to burn down that shed? Same reason he did most things he did. Because he felt like it. Because he wanted to. I was living in a trailer with Mara by that time. I was over there near to the soon-to-be closed ice plant. So I wasn't there to see what happened. But from what Mama told me, Sugar had gotten that look when she said no again, with tears running down her face. She just didn't have the money, and Daddy wasn't going to ask for an advance on his check just so Sugar could get a goddamn tux to go to the prom. So Sugar backhanded my mama so hard it sounded like a rifle shot. When my mama told me the story, she swore it was an accident. Right. Daddy got up from the table where he was eating his dinner. He went over to the closet and pulled out an axe handle. A good hickory piece, he said he was going to fix up one day with a new axe head. And then he proceeded to beat the ever-living shit out of Sugar. He kicked him out the house and told him don't ever come back. 2 weeks later, my daddy got locked in his work shed behind the house with a beehive the size of a basketball. You see, my daddy was definitely allergic to bees. I'd been in that shed a week earlier and I hadn't seen no goddamn hive. But my mama swore on a sack of Bibles 10 feet tall that she'd asked my daddy to get rid of that hive weeks earlier. Sugar faded away for a while after that. I didn't see him for almost 4 years. You know how they say water takes the shape of whatever you pour it in? Sugar's like that. He just twists himself into whatever shape suits him best. The next time I saw him, he was driving the Escalade and working for Luther Barnes out in Norfolk. What you do for him? I asked him once. I'm a garbage man, he said, flashing me a pearl white smile. I figured he finally found a use for that wicked storm that lived inside him. After that, whenever I saw a murder on the news that was suspected of being a part of a drug-related crime war out in the city, one murder that was especially horrific or brutal, I always thought of my brother Sugar and them grasshoppers. My headlights illuminated him like some ethereal being as I came down to where the road narrows at the West End River Bridge. An old big-body Bonneville, banana yellow, had slid off the side of the road. The front and rear passenger tires were up to the middle of the hubcaps in the muck. I stopped the truck and killed the engine. When I climbed out, Sugar came strutting over and gave me a hug. Felt like something he thought he should do, not something he wanted to do. Johnny boy, you a lifesaver, brother. Hey, Sugar, I said. I was taller than him, but he was still built like an African god cut from obsidian with light greenish eyes that shine like chips of peridot. What you doing in town? I asked. He smiled at me. It made my belly feel like a mouse had run across it. He didn't speak for a long time. How long you think it's going to take to get me out? He said finally. I lashed a hook on the frame of the Bonneville just behind the rear bumper. As I worked the winch, Sugar played with his phone. The Bonneville was a big old piece of American muscle. Despite the mud and sludge, I could see it had been well cared for. It was heavy as hell, so I pushed the hydraulic switch a little harder than I intended. The car lurched out of the mud like a demon released from the pit. The rear wheels came up and slammed back down on the asphalt. The trunk popped open, but the car was free. I started to unlatch the hook, but Sugar cut me off. Let me close the trunk, Johnny boy, he said. The look was there in his eyes. It wasn't evil or scary. It was just the absence of anything. A blankness that seemed to stare right through you. But I'd seen what was in the truck. A blue tarp wrapped around two forms. One had a large pair of brown Timberlands on their feet. The other form was smaller. The feet were tiny, clad in sneakers. Pink little sneakers with a floral print. The light in the trunk was painfully bright. I whirled around. Why are you in town, sugar? Who the fuck is in that trunk? I said. Johnny boy, you don't want to know. In fact, you can forget about this. All of it, he said. He stepped close to me and I could almost smell the crazy coming off him, like the stench of a dog that crawled beneath the porch to die. I don't want to come see you tomorrow one night, Johnny boy, he said, and I knew without a shadow of a doubt he meant every word he was saying. I took a deep breath, closed the trunk and unlatched the hook, I said finally. He went over to the car and slammed the hook down, and then he dropped to his knees to undo the hook. I grabbed a yellow tie-down strap off the back of my truck. The strap itself wasn't very wide, about the width of a ruler you might have used in school back in the day. But those tie straps are unbelievably strong. Sugar unlatched the hook, but before he could stand up to his full height, I looped the strap around his neck and I pulled it tight. He tried to buck loose, but I fell back against the blacktop and pulled the strap even tighter. He scratched at my hands, but my oil-stained work gloves gave him no purchase. He kicked his feet and scuffed his Gucci loafers against the road. And I closed my eyes and I saw my daddy's face hold up out of the darkness. I thought of him in that shed with his throat winnowed down to the size of a pin. I thought of that man in the trunk and what he must have felt watching Sugar do whatever it was he had done to his daughter, because I sure as shit knew he had done the daughter first. I held on until he stopped kicking, and then I held on a little bit longer. I popped the trunk and I put my brother inside on top of the tarp. I shut it, hooked it to my truck and drove out to Burke's Mill Pond. I pushed the car down an embankment. I watched it sink until the bubbles stopped breaking the surface. Burke's Mill Pond is really an old empty quarry filled up with rainwater. People say nobody knows how far it is to the bottom. Not really. I hope it's as deep as they say. God, let it be deep. Thank you.
Woo! Well, sir. Sir, that was good. I know that was a Yonder or a Noir at the Bar original, but I think that might be your next screenplay right there. So,
thank you. Oh, by the way, I love my own brother, so don't take any of that. That wasn't inspired by that. He's a good guy.
By the way, he did comment on that. He said that he's going to be looking out for the next family reunion.
It's going to be an interesting Thanksgiving. So, hey.
Sean, where are you tonight? You've got a lot of light switches behind you.
I am actually at the funeral home, which is my day job. So Rufus says hi, Eryk. Inside joke. Inside joke. They are here in the building. They're not here with me. I mean, they're always with me in my heart, but hey, I love you, Sean.
So far, I believe he is the only reader that is reading with in the same room with dead bodies. So,
hey, I love you guys.
Love you too.
Thank you very much for partying with us, Sean.
Miss seeing
I miss you guys.
Yeah, miss you too.
How soon?
All right, soon. Yes, sir.
Bye. So before I introduce our next author, I did want to mention something. Like, they might not be serving drinks at the sit-down bar, but there is a bottle shop here. So you can get wine, beers. A lot of them are locally sourced and operated companies. So if you could come by Tuesday through Saturday, 4 to 7, and I've heard it from a good source that if those hours don't work out for you, let them know.
Yeah, I'll drive the shit to your house, man. Yeah, we've got buzz balls. They're little cocktails in a can. Look at these things, too. They're like, it's like a little party in your pocket. So it's a woman-owned company out of Dallas. Atlanta makes some frosés. We sell them in mason jars. We're doing what the state will allow us to do to survive.
I think it's funny that you want people to put balls in their pockets.
It's a party in your pocket.
It's a little bit big to put in your pocket.
It's a cocktail that's perfectly sized for you to take anywhere, like some of the summer's hottest activities, like protests or what have you. And they're the perfect size to both drink and if you need a projectile. There you go. Speaking of projectiles, our next reader is Johnny Shaw. Now, he is proof that Sean Cosby is not the only Anthony Award winner. Johnny Shaw also won one for Big Maria. I've got Dove Season right here, and his latest is Southland that just came out. Johnny Shaw, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Where are you calling us from?
I am currently in the south of England. I was in Portugal, but now I'm here. So it's like 1 a.m.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Thank God cocaine's legal over there, right?
Yeah. My wife's asleep in the other room, so
We'll keep it down.
No, she hates me anyway.
She does not hate you. I can't speak for her. I don't know. But we don't hate you.
No. Hey, Johnny, so your readings have been legend in the Noir at the Bar lore. Everyone is always talking about your darings do when it comes to reading out loud. I think you literally wrote the book. I've read several online classes and articles about your readings. The only time I've gotten to see one in person was in Raleigh at the BLACKTOP Convention, where you read about a man who masturbated a horse.
Yeah.
More for us this evening.
Tonight I'm going to read, because I wrote a more serious book, I considered reading from it, but I'm not going to.
More serious than masturbating.
Yeah. Prepare for a bit of a tone change from Sean's. Something more urbane and erudite. This is an excerpt from a novella, Whoop Whoop, which was a Juggalo noir that I wrote under the Eryk's enthusiasm. I wrote it under the name Icy Thug Nuts. That's nuts with a Z. It came out last year from Dockyard Press. So I'm going to read. It's so funny. Okay, I'm gonna read from that. I haven't read that before live. I think this is the first time I've admitted that I'm Icy Thug Nuts, as if it was kind of an open secret. Just obviously I am. I should have done it in makeup, but I couldn't pull the string on that.
Names that she writes under. Why shouldn't you have two? Icy Thug Nuts.
No, I have multiple. Yeah. I write as Brace Godfrey. I write as a number of different. Brace Godfrey was actually nominated for an Anthony Award. That's one of my pseudonym has been nominated, not one.
But you've actually won.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've won for that, but you can't beat Megan Abbott. That's what I've learned I've lost to her a few times. So yeah, this I'm going to do everything that I told people not to do in the articles I wrote about reading, because I have to set it up a little bit. But
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Take it away, Mr. Shaw.
All right, man. This is from Whoop Whoop, from the immortal Icy Thug Nuts. All you need to know is that our hero, Magnets also with a Z, he's in a prank war with a guy named Barry the Dick. And so when we enter the story, Magnets is bringing his 7-year-old daughter to McDonald's for lunch. That's all you need to know. All right, here we go. The McDonald's smelled like a McDonald's. They all smelled the same. They all smelled like fucking French fries. Fat and salt particles interspersed into the oxygen. Everything tasted like fries, too. If you didn't like the fries at McDonald's, you were straight fucked. That should be their slogan. Loving it, or you're straight fucked. The last person the Magnets expected to see was Barry the Dick, but there he was at the back of the line. Magnets considered punching him in the kidney as revenge for the morning. There was no elegance to it. He needed a more epic revenge. Barry the Dick wasn't wearing his signature Leatherman jacket. Instead had on a Diamondbacks jersey. Maybe it was game day. He spotted Magnets and burst out laughing. Magnets wasn't laughing. I got fired because of you. You mess with the bull, you get the horns. I'm the bull. Barry the Dick bent down to get eye level with Sarah. Who's this? Fuck off, dump truck, Sarah said. My daddy doesn't like you. You let her talk like that? We're part of fuck off dump truck, didn't you understand? Magnets said, then high-fived Sarah. Go play outside. I got something to take care of with him. He knew exactly how he would get his revenge. It would be ingenious and elegant. Barry the Dick would never see it coming. There wasn't a player on the planet that didn't want their home toilet when they needed to birth a nurdle. I actually love that sentence. Even a hardcore murder clown like Magnus hated taking a shit in a public john. Magnus wasn't self-conscious about much, but he preferred to make some noise when he pinched one off. He was convinced that it was better for his colon, plus it made the whole experience more fulfilling. A quiet bowel movement was just a waste of a good crap. But this wasn't an ordinary shit. He was shitting for two. While Sarah climbed around and bouncy bounced and whatnot in the playground, Barry the Dick would be necking a stack of McBurgers. He'd be at ease, not expecting Magnets to retaliate so soon. If Magnets could fuzzy pumper some brown soft serve, he could same-day service on his vengeance. The plan was flawless, but the execution was easier said than done. Half squatting over the food tray that he had laid over the bowl, Magnets grunted and fought, but got no yield. He didn't know what he should think of to take a shit. It wasn't like thinking of the ocean or a waterfall for a piss. Then he remembered a documentary he had seen in 3rd grade about a factory that made sausage. Workers filled up these like skin socks with this meat sludge. It was dope. When he turtled a little, he didn't miss his chance and went full Lamaze on the situation. He pushed until he saw eye floaters, heard a pop in his right ear, and the world went a little yellow. That chokegasm just before passing out feeling. It worked perfectly. He didn't get the consistency or volume that he hoped for. He seriously needed to reassess his diet, but there was enough gravy train on the McDonald's tray to serve his purpose. Barry the Dick was about to learn that revenge wasn't best served cold. It was best served piping warm out of an angry ninja's asshole. Carrying around a serving tray of butt mud gave Operation Malodorous Reprisal a sense of heightened urgency. The napkins that Magnets had draped over the tray hid the horror. Think expired Del Taco meat left out in the rain, but did little to obstruct the olfactory onslaught. Whatever Magnets had eaten the night before had ripped through his insides and exited smelling like someone vomited rotten eggs in a gas station bathroom. The smell of French fries only did so much to mask that odor. Before entering the dining room, he craned his neck to check on Sarah in the play area. He was a good parent, after all. Of course she was fine. She was in her element. She entertained herself by throwing balls from the ball pit at a beefy redhead kid. Magnets cautiously walked through the McDonald's, looking for Barry the Dick. He couldn't find him. People made faces and reacted to the stink. The smell was not subtle. Magnets started to sweat. Finally, he caught sight of the back of Barry the Dick's black cap and red jersey at a middle booth. He sat with some beefed-up bro with a neck tattoo that read "No Ragrets," R-A-G-R-E-T-S. Barry the Dick faced away from Magnets so he could approach without him suspecting a thing. A few steps from Barry. And feel free to, play the Mission Impossible theme in your head at any point if necessary. A few steps from Barry the Dick, Magnets removed the napkins from the tray. He lifted in the air to get a big swing. "Yo, ninja," Magnets said, cocked and loaded. As Barry the Dick turned his head, Magnets set the tray in motion. At the same time, he saw something curious and disconcerting. He saw Barry the Dick also sitting at a back corner booth at the other end of the Mickey D's. How could Barry the Dick be in two places at the same time? He looked back at the person who was 1 second away from getting hit in the face with a tray of embarrassingly watery shit. It was, of course, not Barry the Dick, but some other dude in a Diamondbacks jersey and cap. Magnets didn't see his face as much as the tats that covered it. In the brief moment, he caught blue-eared teardrops at the edge of both eyes, the word "killa" on his forehead, and spiders up and down his face and neck. No one knows how momentum works, but Isaac Newton had fucked Magnets. A tray of shit in motion tends to stay in motion. The tray hit Killer flush to the side of the head. He felt the squishy give of the crap and the hard thwack of the tray. Whatever didn't stick to Killer pebble dashed no regrets. The impact knocked Killer under the table. No regrets stared in disbelief, shit bits dripping off his face. Shadspot, Magnet said. I'll end there. Thank you very much.
I kind of wish that it wasn't. Yeah, I don't want to clap for that. I wish that you weren't so good at vividly describing things, because you said you turtled a little.
Yeah.
You probably introduced a lot of new slang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have used prairie dog too if that was what you would prefer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you could have. That was something, Johnny.
yeah.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
John Shaw, you are the man. You are still definitely the man. We really, really appreciate you staying up late.
Yeah, thank you.
And for partying with us big time. It's over in Romania or wherever you're at, man. I know that
North England, man.
Oh, that's what
Don't be racist.
That's what I said.
Gosh.
But anyway, thank you very, very, very much. And how's everything with Southland?
Oh, it's great. Yeah. People seem to be digging it. Just, it's a book.
It's just another
I hear it's a
award.
really good one, man. So if you guys get a chance, go out and grab Southland. But
Hey, we'll help you gain points with your wife. Just bring your phone or your computer in there and we'll sing to her.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Very sweetly, we'll serenade her.
Menage or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Johnny. Save yourself.
Bye, Johnny. Thank you.
Right.
We'll see you.
Bye. Well, I know that, the saying is we save the best for last, but in this case, the last is Eryk. So, yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
I just figured I'd be polite.
Does Peanut Gallery. Anyway, so just a couple of reminders. So the Venmo, Eryk is not going to plug this himself, but I love this place. I love Yonder Bar. I love Lana and Eryk, and I think that they're amazing human beings. And they always, they would be willing to give their own shirts off their own backs. So let's help them by buying more shirts. Amazon, they've got several different styles of t-shirts, so take a look at that. Also, their Venmo at Yonder Bar, which is a capital Y and a capital B for Venmo if you want to tip your bartender, which is Eryk and Lana. And Lana is working very hard, I will have you know, this evening. Again, if you are in the North Carolina, Durham, Raleigh, Hillsborough area, Chapel Hill, Carborough, come on by to the Bottle Shop. It's open Tuesday through Saturday, 4 to 7. So come on by. Eryk, what are you going to read today?
Well, I wrote something special. Just for this, but I am kind of in a quandary here because I wrote it from the point of view of a character.
Yeah.
And I just don't want people to think it's my point of view, that it's my feeling, because I love everybody. I got unicorns and stuff coming out of me. So I don't want people to think that these are my words. These are actually the words of a character.
Oh.
So I'm not sure how to do that.
Well, I happen to have this wig right here. Why don't you put this on, and then everybody will be able to tell that it's a character and not Eryk Pruitt.
I think that'll work. If I just put on a wig, you'll see that, hey, it's a character that I'm reading, and it's not my point of view. Maybe that will help.
It's like you've never worn a wig before, Eryk.
Not on a Thursday evening, but all right. So here we go.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna leave you to it. I'm gonna go off.
Thank you. So I wrote this story. It's called "We're All in This Together." And I don't know. Do you like my hair?
No.
It's not even what I would call my best feature. As many of you might agree, that distinction belongs to my face, my lovely, lovely face. Behold this creation. One of the biggest surprises that people learn about me is that I haven't had any work done. Well, outside of the one little Botox injection 12 years ago when I just turned 30, and man, what I wouldn't give to be worried about that shit all over again. But wouldn't you agree that I've kept up a lovely jawline? These teeth so perfectly straight. A nose that people call cute and adorable. The bottom half of my face is majestic. So let me ask you a question. Why the fuck would I want to cover it with a mask? Seriously, did my parents pay all that money to an orthodontist for 3 years worth of braces so I could hide it behind some liberal hajib? In fact, the other day, I was...
Excuse me, ma'am, you need to wear this mask.
I don't need to wear this mask because, you see, I have a medical condition.
No, you need to wear the mask. There is an
I'm
epidemic
perfectly
going
healthy.
on.
I don't need to wear a mask.
There's a pandemic.
I have a
going on.
medical condition. I'm perfectly healthy. I have a medical condition. I'm perfectly healthy. It's against my constitutional rights. That liberal was just owned. Where was I? Oh, yes. I was at Starbucks the other day. Maybe you've seen the video. It's more viral than a UNC dorm room right now. And this bitch behind the counter kept on and on about me not wearing a mask. Seriously, like people really need to mind their own business. Excuse me. What are you doing over there? Selling lemonade? Do you have a permit? You need a permit to sell lemonade. It's against the law. I've lived in this neighborhood my whole life and I've never seen you before. What do you mean you live here? I'm calling the police as soon as I'm done with this story. Anyway, the backlash from that video has been extremely unfair. I'm not going to wear a mask just because some person making minimum wage decides to infringe my constitutional rights. And before you give me any shit about their minimum wage, what do you expect to pay someone who can't spell my name properly on a coffee cup? It's Karen. Yes, that is my real name. It was my name before the social justice warriors on the keyboards co-opted it. Have I ever asked to speak to a manager? Well, sure, but pretending that white women are the only people in the world to ask for a manager is gaslighting on an extreme scale. Trust me, I may not have worked in the service industry myself, but I've been waited on by plenty of people who have. Jesus Christ, nothing outside of a hairbrush handle has so much as touched my vagina since my husband died. You know, if you people wanted everyone to wear masks, you should have called them freedom shields. But you liberals aren't that kind of smart. The only sport you excel at is pointing fingers and crying. What if I told you I used to be a Democrat? No, seriously, I was. You see, my husband, he'd been a Republican his whole life up until the day he died. He lost his business during the recession of 2008, which is really unfortunate timing because the last thing you want in the world is to depend on the government during an election year. The Democrats pointing fingers and calling foul and the Republicans vetoing legislation and vice versa, this way and that. All the frustration and despair drove my husband to drink and drink and drink and drink himself straight into a hole. Just another casualty of those rich assholes in Washington, D.C. Whatever. Anyway, after he died, some of the girls at work started feeling sorry for me, so they invited me to a couple of their after-work get-togethers. And it turned out a lot of them were liberals, Democrats. And they did what Democrats are really good at, which is talking, but a lot of things that they were talking about actually sounded kind of good. Medical care for everyone, equality for all races and colors, taking care of the planet and our environment. Sure, sometimes they would descend into this little spiral of trying to out-woke each other, and it would get so bad it sounded like a Saturday Night Live skit. But what kind of monster wouldn't think those things are great? So when they asked during the next election cycle if we were better off than we were 4 years ago, I just thought, well, my husband was kind of a dick, and now he's dead, so yeah, technically, sure. I voted for Obama in 2012. And then in 2016, Hillary drove my family nuts, which was a reaction I can get behind. And after I became a liberal, I saw the possibility the world could be, the promise it could live up to. I could have those conversations at those cocktail parties until, let me set the scene for you. A group of us women were talking. And mind you, it's a liberal cocktail party, so of course everybody's white. And I made the comment that maybe movies should be judged on quality and not by how diverse they are. You could have heard a pin drop. I'm not racist. I have several black friends, none of whom were at that party, but I could have gotten them on the phone in a minute to back me up. But those women weren't having it. Instead, you know what they said to me? Instead of telling me what was wrong or opening any discourse with what exactly I meant, you know what they said to me? You need to check your privilege, Karen. Which again, as I said, happens to be my name, but that's not what they meant when they said it. I went home and I got on Twitter and asked them what was so wrong, and all I got was, I'm not about to educate another white Karen on why this is problematic. But I did get a bunch of write-ons and retweets from MAGA hats. All right, it doesn't matter anyway, because a couple weeks later, I called the wrong person sir and stopped getting invited to the liberal cocktail parties anyway. And then 2020 came. I'm not going to waste your time with pandemic talk and quarantine this or that. A number of hardship stories that I know you're no doubt tired of. It's the whole reason you're listening to this TED Talk right now is because you want to get away from all that stuff. And so do I. Right now, things are pretty bad. Just like 2008, I've got myself in a little bit of a jam. And once again, it's not anything anybody can do about it. And when I ask for help from some of these politicians with big, lofty ideals, I get ignored. I get told instead that I need to wear a mask and vote a particular way and everything's going to be all right. But that ain't true, is it? No, both sides are playing dirty pool. Nobody gets it that this is a game where rich people are playing with each other and we are just pawns. Powerful people versus powerful people. And if you don't have compromising photographs of one of them, you don't get to play. If you can't make yourself a talking point, you don't get to be part of the narrative. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have morals and high, lofty values, but right now those seem to exist only for people who can afford them. I'd love to give a shit about climate change, but it sounds like Leonardo DiCaprio pretty much has that under control. So how about if somebody gives a shit about the working class? And for all the talk I've had to endure at these endless cocktail parties about changing things and making a difference, they're making it worse. They don't want to change anything. They just want another target to ridicule and shame and draw outrage. You can't win with these people, so why do you even try? While you are busy fighting over Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter, you're failing to see the truth that these politicians think no lives matter. So I tell you what, if anybody wants to change this, how about if it's going to be me? And I'm going to do it by not wearing this mask. By starring in video after video of some do-gooder demanding that I wear one and then backing down when they realize they can't make me. I'm fed up with playing by your rules only to be pushed aside and ignored for some new photo op with your cause du jour. I hereby protest by not wearing one. Because if that virus is inside of me, I want it to infect the entire world. And if it's not, I want you all to suffer the worst anxiety known to man because you can't stand to see me without it. I want you lying awake at night, fraught with so much worry that when you get up in the morning, you've cracked your teeth from grinding them in your sleep. I will myself plan to vote for Trump 100 times if I can, for no other reason than to piss everyone off. And I'm going to flood the post office with so much shit that your ballot for 2024 won't even get in on time. I want this pandemic to last for years. I'm going to flat earth, anti-vax, and live, laugh, love my way through it because it's not COVID that's infected this country. COVID's actually pretty far down the list. I want this thing to last for years because all it does is expose what's really wrong, what I knew all along, and what I've seen, but it doesn't fit into your tweets and your cocktail parties. You'll see it in the second year of this thing, and if you don't, you'll see it in the third. And you'll get the picture. Will I still be around by then? Probably not, but I will have left my mark. And I'm not alone because there's millions of me. They're everywhere. We even have a name. You gave it to us. People like us weren't born. You made us on the internet, at the store, in the streets. You made this happen. This is America and money matters. I don't have any money. It's all gone. I don't have any hope either. I don't have any future. All I have is rage, bottomless rage. This fucking lighter. And the unholy desire to burn everything to the ground. The best part, I don't have to do all the work. I got you to do it for me. That's my TED Talk. There's nobody to click to. Oh shit, I gotta put this on.
Oh my God, Karen.
Don't use the wig.
Yeah.
Man, thank y'all very much. I should have
It's not COVID, it's the smoke.
I should have ended with Johnny Shaw.
Woo! That did get dark, Eryk.
But thank y'all very much. Once again, though the points of view written in that thing do not reflect the points of view of us.
Oh, Eryk.
I
it's
just
good
wanted to
see
write
you
about
again.
somebody that was despicable and a bad guy, which is what we do.
You're back.
Yeah, Tracy.
Yeah. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in, for joining us, for making us feel like we're all normal again. It was so nice to hang out with you, to joke and to laugh and just feel like we're together again. So thank you for being here. Again, thank you, Yonder Bar. Thank you, Eryk, Lana, and all of our authors, everybody for coming out tonight. It was amazing. And I would just like to say that Christa won the Fucks Award.
Good job, Christa.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was betting on anybody going into it, I'd have bet on Christa.
It feels like California in here.
Don't say that. They can hear you.
Sorry.
All right. Hey, thank y'all very much. Remember, we've got beers, 6-packs, wines, all that stuff going. We're here Tuesday through Saturday, 4 to 7. Buy a T-shirt. We get like $5 on each T-shirt, so that's great. And make sure you wash your hands and make sure you wear your fucking mask.
Yes.
All right. That's it.
And speaking
wear the
of
mask.
being hygienic, here you go.
Lube up.
All right.
All right. Hey, thank y'all very much, folks. Holler at me. Talk to me on Facebook. I miss everybody, so that's all we got right now. So please holler at me.
Miss you, love you.
Thank y'all.
Bye.